Good morning. Welcome back, everyone. Just doing a quick follow-up video since it is a new month, new year. I did make a video, I think like a couple weeks back about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we're just going to follow up with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dixie just to see kind of what we should be expecting for the rest of the month. First of all, here's Bitcoin on a monthly time frame. You can see that we're actually doing pretty decent by holding the support here around $87,342. Worst case scenario, we'll go touch to deeper support around 62,000. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that yet. 75,000, as you can see here, marked 75,000 is still a solid support before we even need to consider 63,000. And those lower levels only come into play after we have a daily open and close underneath 87,350, which right now we are doing decent to hold above on the monthly time frame. Now, if you go to the weekly time frame, you can see the little bit of resistance that we need to be concerned about is right around here, around 97,000. Coming from 82 to going to 97,000 and finding a little bit of resistance or a rejection on the first tap is completely normal and acceptable in my opinion. I do think that is where we are going to be setting up. Probably into next week when we open up, we might find a little quick pop up and then a pop back down to basically reconfirm support near around 75,000. Now, do I want us to go to 75, 80K? No, but the risk of that occurring is there due to the fact that on a weekly time frame, we are opening and closing underneath the EMAs, and the EMAs are about to do a death cross if continuation to the downside occurs. So the new weekly candle opens. If we don't get upside and hold it, and it's just straight downside and a quick fast move to the downside, well, those EMAs will do much more convincing of basically crossing to show you that we're in a little bit of a downtrend and people are probably just taking profits in this dead cat bounce. All right. Basically, that was the gist I was trying to say is I don't want you to be bearish. I don't want you to be bullish. What I want you to do is be reasonable and keep in mind that around 75, 80,000 is our support for upside continuation, and around 98,000, 95 to 98,000 is a possible level of resistance. Now, I honestly would just go ahead and tell you that 100,500 is the psychological resistance. Anything above 100,000, people are going to be shouting 125 and more. Anything under 100,000, people are looking at 100,000 to 80,000, that $20,000 range as the next consolidational support that will build before breakout. All right. So that's basically what I assume, and that's what I'm thinking other people are assuming as well. On a daily time frame, we can see that we grinded the sideways and lows, and a pop up into that resistance is possible. Now, on the daily time frame, it's telling you, hey, our resistance is around 101,000. All right, I would actually go ahead and just say 98,800. If you start opening and closing 4-hour candles above 98,800, then that $100,000 to $105,000 level is possible. You can see that we are building an inverse head and shoulder structure, meaning a fast move up here will be a fast impulse up right to 100,000. It will basically destroy all the shorts that are there on leverage, and then when we pull back down, all the longs that will be chasing and aping into that breakout of 100,000. When the 100,000 comes back down to find support around 95, 90-ish, that's when all the over leveraged longs will get pushed. So right now we're building a short squeeze to wreck shorts. Once we get up to this level, all the people will think higher and moon targets, and that's when the over leveraged longs will probably get a pushback out of the market as we consolidate around 95,000, and then we can look for higher. Okay. So that is what we can expect on lower time frame. Now that is something also I would look for at new week open. I would not look for this pop up today. I would not look for it tomorrow. I would be looking for this into the weekly data coming out for maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for that impulse straight up if we're going to get it. Okay, so just take that with a grain of salt for yourself. Everything looks decent. That bounce off of the monthly 87,000 looks good for upside continuation. We'll see if that continues. All right. Now let's take a quick peek at Ethereum. As markets are opening up today on Sunday, I see a bit of the market trickling up. If you look at CME, we have a little bit of a gap on CME for Bitcoin, and actually, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a huge gap, but almost like $50 gap on Ethereum CME. So be aware of that. Here on the monthly on ETH, you can see, hey, we tried to basically, go lower. The lows were actually instantly bought up off of this order block, which was around 1400. And then we went and took out the liquidity above the highs, okay? And now what we're doing is we're consolidating sideways. As long as we're above $3,000, it looks good for upside continuation. This last month doji is what gave us this push up, but the doji will basically show you trend reversal only after I can see a bullish engulfing monthly close above 3,500. Above 3,500, if the monthly closes, then the month February will look for continuation up into the larger resistance around 48, whatnot. If this monthly just closes like this with the wick on top, next month we can try again. But if next month we can't engulf and we get a rejection, be aware that that could be the liquidity grab for us to go test into 2,600. Do I want us to do that? No. Is the possibility there? Yes. Keep in mind that this huge amount of selling volume this month we just started, but the buyers are not like showing us like hey, this is reversal. Yes, there's buying here, but it could just be longs getting liquidated, and that's why the market buying is causing a little bit of a dead cat bounce. Here on the weekly time frame, this is what I was warning you on Bitcoin. ETH is already kind of doing it. The cross of the yellow into the green would be bearish. Here is an example. When yellow crosses green, impulse to the downside begins. Over here, we did not have a cross. We consolidated underneath the EMAs. We did not have a cross, and that actually caused a short squeeze. But that short squeeze basically played out later, right? To the downside. Same thing happened over here, but this thing was a cross to the upside, giving you the upside continuation. This cross led to the upside continuation because all the liquidity was already taken out underneath this EMA. Under 2,400, all that liquidity was taken out. What we did was we quickly went to take the shorts liquidity above 4,000. We did that. Now we're right back to where we basically were at. So ETH is finding decent support around the $3,000, $2,500 to $3,000 area. Level of resistance that I would be looking for ETH to go test into is around 3,800. When do we get that? It's probably going to happen in I wouldn't say it's gonna happen guaranteed, but the probability of it occurring is probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks if we get that upside continuation. If next week we open and we get a push to the downside and these EMAs get closer, keep in mind that this is a possibility. Until the EMAs cross to the downside, you have a short squeeze possibility. If the EMAs cross to the downside, then obviously the robots and the world is going to basically looking for the lower level. So that is the risk that you need to be aware of. Use your stop loss to your advantage. Please don't over leverage trade. That is why you are giving your money back to the market, is due to being over leveraged when you're taking these positions. Okay. On the daily time frame, actually looks very, very healthy. This is showing you that yes, we did get that push to the downside, but now the EMAs are flattening out. Price action is consolidating here. This is actually looking like we possibly can find long-term support on ETH around 3,090, 3,080, 3,090. This can be major level of support for ETH moving forward. If that occurs, then this week what we want to see is us go back and test into the resistance of that 3620 level. If that occurs, then when we get that next pushback down to like say 33, we'll use that as support. 3,000, 3,100 area will then make new support level around 33 for us to continue up and higher. What will eventually happen is the price action then will get quickly above this purple EMA, which is around 3,600, and then we'll use that as support and then continue up into the level of resistance, because liquidity is all sitting above here, right? All these shorts think they're safe, leaving their stop losses above these like previous highs, and all the longs are thinking they're safe with leaving their stops beneath the previous lows. The way I assume the world and the market to go is I only look for upside continuation, right? CME, the world is adopting crypto. I mean, you think that if the whole world continues on the path that it's on, that these limited assets are going to just consolidate sideways? Or are you thinking that since it's a limited resource asset, a hard asset, as the world becomes aware of what's going on and they start accumulating this stuff, since it's 100 million supply for Ethereum and 21 million Bitcoin supply for Bitcoin, as the wealth starts trickling into these assets, of course, upside continuation is what I would expect, right? The lows will eventually become like this, okay? At 300 ETH to now, this 300 level looks like nothing. Well, that $300 level is this. This whole 10 years is basically a blip of what Ethereum will be in the next 10 years. Because this whole time, people were not convinced that crypto was here to stay long term, right? It went up, down, up, down, up, down. Well, now these lows are pretty much cemented. We went to test it right here, proving that, yo, these guys are going to defend their entry. Now the new level of entry is, the new base is like this inverse head and shoulder. You can see here's the neckline of this inverse head and shoulder around 27. You can use this EMA 2,500 is the new local low and support area for Ethereum for upside continuation. This last consolidation we didn't even come to these lows. We're already trying to break back up, okay, in a rounding bottom fashion. The EMA is showing you the curve, right? The curve for the accumulation, the curve of accumulation, showing you that, yes, people are selling, but the bots and the sellers are now trying to flip into buyers. That's why the selling is slowing down, and now you got this green candle consolidation. Well, if these red candles start showing in less frequency and you start seeing more green candles, the whole world will be basically like, oh, look, the reversal is in. Let's start looking for buying long. And that's kind of what's going on. The only person who knows the bottom is in is the guy who bought the bottom, right? And who's defending the bottom. That's what is going on in this chart. The chart is showing you that, yo, somebody bought, accumulated, and now this little bull flag triangle that's happening is looking for a breakout in continuation. It's very similar in this breakout here. We're looking for that bull flag breakout again here. Once we get above 5,000 on ETH, everyone will play that breakout trade, and we'll probably get into 7,500, 8,000. Something like that is a one-to-one move we're expecting. What is this? 1,500 to, so that's like $4,000 right there. A $4,000 move from this $5,000 level would be around 9,000, right? And that's, if you are a technical trader, a one-to-one move, it's pretty possible, right? If you go to Ethereum on CME, do I have doodles here? So basically, this is kind of what we were looking for. Here's this accumulation on CME. Here's the inverse head and shoulder we were looking for, and the breakout. And that's basically what's happening out. Is here, delete this. You can see right here, here's the last area for us to accumulate, which is the top of the right shoulder of the inverse head and shoulder. If you can see this, let me color this green. Yeah. And people were hoping it went lower so they could accumulate it, but it looks like this flag is occurring right here. See, this triangle that I was expecting is now, this triangle is actually support. And we already made the measured move one-to-one off of these lows. So these guys actually took profit at 4,278 and that's when they flipped into a short over here. And now the shorts will eventually take profit as well, right? And that's basically what this is. This fast move to the downside is now turning into an accumulation for us to retest all this liquidity over here. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I know everyone wants it to just like move quickly, but this slow accumulation here is basically Wyckoff accumulation. And then when Wyckoff accumulation is over and then we have that markup phase, you'll see like the Elliott wave 7 move, you know, like 1, 2, wave 3 will come, which will be good and big. You'll get that retrace on wave 4, and then wave 5 will be the largest amplitude up. Usually an Elliott wave, wave 5 is the largest, right? And here's an example. If the Elliott wave count starts here, right, you got 1, 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5, which was the largest amplitude, 6, 7, and then A, B, C, retrace, correction, and then you start the 7-wave count all over again. That's basically what I'm expecting in the long term here on ETH. So, not financial advice. Take it for what it's worth. I think I have CME on Bitcoin also doodling kind of a similar structure. So worst case scenario, I was looking for around 75,000 on Bitcoin, and we're kind of 75,000, 74. Yeah. So basically, if this rejection comes like this, right? Like, let me doodle real quick. So let me turn this nonsense off. As we're getting this rejection, right, on CME, on a weekly time frame, you just got your death cross right there on Bitcoin. So this move to the upside is where the bots needed to have price come where they can start shorting. Now here's your short, right? You got this wick over here. If this week opens and we get that push to the downside, say like 75,000, between 75,000 and 70,000, 70 to 75,000 is where I would be looking for a possible level to accumulate on that retrace for the upside continuation later. Okay, this is where I'm looking for us to put in the next inverse head and shoulder for upside continuation for the next bull run push, or however you want to describe it. So that's basically how I am trying to position myself. I'm not rushing into buying, I'm not rushing into selling, I'm not rushing, period. I'm just watching the consolidation and see if we do get this rejection here as I'm expecting. I'm looking for a fast move down to 75 to 70K. Around there, I'll be looking to accumulate, you know, sell your house, sell your wife, sell your kids, accumulate and look for upside. Now, coming into this 70 to 75 area, if we are getting a deeper push, it has to be, in my opinion, led by some news event. Some fundamental technical news event going like, yo, we're going to war, a bomb is dropped, some kind of nonsense led by the news. There's no real reason for us to oversell Bitcoin on a panic mode unless there's some news catalyst that's causing that impulse to the downside. More than likely, when that impulse comes to the downside, those bigger traders will be waiting for this to be accumulated for upside continuation later on some other news, like, oh, banks are getting into crypto, blah, 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 blah. So that's the gist I'm trying to get at, guys. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Please do like, subscribe, thumbs up the content so I start making these videos a little bit more regularly. Aside from that, if you have any other assets you would like me to get over, feel free to shoot it on the comment section and I will get back to you in the next video when I decide to make it. Another thing I forgot to mention was Dixie. This thing, I've been watching it for almost a year now plus, and I've been waiting for this thing to break out. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 10 months of us grinding these lows. Now, let me see what. So this was about a year of grinding the lows. This looks like it's going to be a year. This is 2020. So this is the COVID. And now we're in this situation. And you can see the EMA crossing right to the downside. But look, the candle is trying to go into the cross, right? Usually crosses are magnets. If this price action gets above that cross and closes above $101 on Dixie, I would consider that downside scenario on Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything that I was showing you for the downside possibility being more of a realistic consideration, because Dixie and Bitcoin have always held an inverse relationship. That relationship has been muted because of the Fed and interest rate cuts, etc., etc., etc. The world is buying gold and trying to get away from the dollar. So that's why Dixie has been affected by it. In the beginning, when I started first making these videos, I said that Dixie one day will correlate with Bitcoin. That inverse relationship will die and it will become correlated one-to-one, because Bitcoin is becoming the world reserve asset, like how Dixie, the dollar, was back in the day the reserve asset. So be aware that Dixie correlation with crypto is a little muted at this point, but the relationship with gold and silver is obviously there. Gold and silver are now at all-time highs, as opposed to Bitcoin and ETH, which are just consolidating the lows. These metals are now getting that push. When the profit from these metals are taken and going elsewhere, more than likely these people will diversify into crypto. All these hard metal fanatics will probably get into crypto as a diversification method, because at the end of the day they're just trying to protect their buying power that they're losing in dollar due to inflation on a yearly basis. So that's the gist of what I got going on, guys. I hope you guys having a great day, great weekend. Next week is La Sansa here in Puerto Rico, so it's gonna be party city for the whole week to the weekend. It's like 5 days, Thursday to Sunday, I believe, 4 or 5 days of partying. So yeah, if you're here in Puerto Rico, hit me up and we'd love to meet up with you and we can talk crypto in person. There's a huge AI community here now that I'm kind of dabbling in and learning as much as I can from these tech pros. So yeah, I would love to meet you guys in person if one of you guys are coming here for the crypto convention that's going to be here, I think, in a month or two, or if you guys are vacationing here just in general. Please hit me up. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you soon. Have a great day. Be safe out there. Bye bye.